Fashion can inspire you, but it can never, and I mean never, define you. Happy Fashion Friday, stylistas. I'm Victoria, the founder and style strategist behind the Elevated Style Co., where we help women discover and elevate their unique style profile so that they can get dressed with confidence, intention, and authenticity. I want to extend a very warm welcome to my channel as this is my very first YouTube video. On the first Friday of each month, I'm going to be unpacking a style lesson, which is designed to help you build a wardrobe with intention and confidence. This month, we're going to be unpacking one of the biggest misconceptions in regards to fashion, that fashion and personal style are interchangeable. By the end of today's lesson, you'll understand the difference between the two, why confusing them can keep women stuck, and how making that distinction can completely change the way that you approach getting dressed. So grab your style notebook, settle in, and let's get into today's style lesson. Do you have a closet full of clothes, but getting dressed still feels frustrating? The problem isn't that you need more clothes. It's likely that you were taught how to consume fashion, but you weren't taught how to develop a personal style. And I'm not here to cast judgment because it's not your fault. We likely learned about fashion from 6 key areas, and I'm going to touch on all 6 in no particular order. Number 1 is trends. Most of us are introduced to fashion through trends. Every season, we're told what's in and what's out. And there's nothing inherently wrong with trends. They just teach us to ask, is this in style rather than, does this fit me? Number 2 is fast fashion. People have ethical and environmental concerns with fast fashion, but I want to focus on the message that it conveys, which is that new is inherently better. I want to push back on this idea because breakthroughs in your wardrobe don't happen when everything in your closet is new. They happen when everything belongs. Third is haul videos. The primary message we receive from them is consumption, not discernment. Sure, they're entertaining, but they rarely answer, should I buy it? Much more often, they only answer, what did my favorite YouTuber buy? And that's the wrong question. Number 4, influencers. Influencers aren't really teaching personal style. They're teaching what's launching, what's viral, and what's in their storefront. And that's their job as an influencer. But my job as a style strategist is to help someone decide what belongs in their wardrobe and why. And that distinction is massive. Number 5 is social media. Because Instagram and especially Pinterest show us beautifully curated wardrobes every day, we can start to think, maybe if I dressed more like her, ... But somebody else's style isn't automatically your style. And while style inspiration is great and even encouraged, comparison is what we really want to stay away from. 6 is celebrities. Again, there's nothing wrong with having a celebrity that you resonate with. During my style identity sessions, I often ask clients if they have a style icon. And when they say, I love Zendaya or Reese Witherspoon style, I always ask why. They usually start describing qualities like sophistication, confidence, or elegance. But while those style adjectives are helpful, they can be expressed in countless ways. This exercise helps clients see that they don't actually want a random celebrity's wardrobe. They want to express those qualities through their own wardrobe. And that is the essence of personal style. Before we define each term, I want to address something that you may have noticed already. We often use the words fashion and style as if they mean the same thing. And here's why that language is so confusing. Well, for one, the concepts are closely related. When we look at their definitions in just a moment, you'll realize that they actually reference each other. And that doesn't mean that they're the same thing. It just means that there is a somewhat symbiotic relationship between the two. Because of that relationship, our vernacular has naturally become a little bit more casual. We'll often say that somebody has great style when we're really talking about their clothes. And we'll say that somebody is fashionable when we like the way that they dress. Over time, the word style has become shorthand for personal style whenever we're talking about clothing. And the problem is that once those words start to be used interchangeably, we can start to think that the concepts are interchangeable too. And that's where the confusion lies. Style is a much more broad concept. And while fashion is one expression of style, it isn't the whole picture. So before we can understand how fashion and personal style work together, we first must understand what each one actually is. So first, I want to talk about the attributes of fashion, and then I'll do the same for personal style. Fashion is the prevailing style, as in dress, during a particular time. Fashion has about 4 characteristics that I want to unpack. First, fashion is cultural. What's popular in the US is not the same as what's popular in, say, Sweden. Even in the US, the LA fashion scene is much different from New York or Chicago. That's because fashion reflects the unique regional value, social signals, and climate adaptations in any given culture. Next, fashion is seasonal. As I just mentioned, climate adaptations are very important in fashion, and it's a big reason why fashion is so cyclical. Fashion houses host spring and summer and fall and winter runways about every 6 months, which leads me to my next point about fashion being trend-driven. Fashion designers forecast trends in their runway looks, and then fashion bloggers, editors, and influencers will respond with their interpretation of those looks. Retailers take all of that information and decide what to market to consumers. And I do want to make clear that fashion itself is not the industry. It's the collective expression that emerges from it. But that dissemination of trends is what leads me to my next point, which is that fashion is collective. Because fashion deals with the global trends and the fashion industry as a whole, it has to have wide appeal. Fashion speaks to the masses, while personal style speaks to the individual. Notice how every characteristic I mentioned, the culture, seasons, trends, the collective vision and influence, all comes from outside of you. That's because fashion starts externally. Personal style, on the other hand, starts internally. And that's why so many women struggle. We've been taught to build our wardrobes from the outside in, when lasting style is built from the inside out. So while fashion answers the question, what's current, personal style asks the question, who am I? So let me pause and define personal style. Style is a particular way of expressing or doing something. That can show up in your clothing style, writing style, design style, almost anything really. That being said, the attributes I'm about to list can apply to any type of style, but I'm going to explain them through the lens of the fashion world. First, personal style is internal. Unlike fashion, personal style begins internally before it's ever expressed externally. It encompasses the way an individual expresses themselves through their aesthetic choices, such as their clothing, accessories, hairstyle, and the way that they go about putting an outfit together. Second, personal style is intentional. You may not have the language to describe your style choices that you're making, but the way that you dress sends a message whether you mean to or not. Personal style and developing that is about becoming intentional about the message that you're already sending. Third, personal style is expressive. I'm always telling my clients that style tells a story. It's a way of communicating who you are without having to say a word. And that's why it's so important for you to take control of that narrative yourself. And fourth, personal style is consistent and long-term. Now, it can and will change over time because it evolves with you. But style is pretty timeless, while its fashion counterpart is timely. Now that we're clear on the differences, I want to bring them back together because the last thing that I want you to think is that personal style and fashion are completely separate. They're not. In fact, they work beautifully together when they're put in the right order. Take Gigi Hadid, for example. When she walks the runway or models the newest designer collection, she's showcasing fashion, the industry's ideas, trends, and collective vision. But when she's on off duty, choosing what to wear in her own time, those choices are her personal style, the pieces that she naturally gravitates towards, and how she chooses to express herself. And because her personal style resonates with so many people, she has her own clothing line. In other words, her personal style has become the inspiration for fashion. But unless you're walking a runway or you design a collection of clothes, your life probably looks a lot different, and your relationship to fashion is probably a lot different. For most of us, fashion isn't something that we create, it's something that we consume. Every time we walk into a store, scroll on Pinterest, or shop online, we're being introduced to fashion. Your personal style is what helps you decide which of those belongs in your wardrobe and which ones don't. So let's make this practical. Imagine wide leg jeans are trending. Fashion asks, is this in style? Personal style will ask questions like, does this fit my aesthetic? Does this align with the image that I want to project? Will I actually wear them? Things like that. That's why I don't believe that fashion and personal style are competitors. Fashion gives us inspiration, fresh ideas, and new possibilities. Personal style gives us the wisdom to choose what actually belongs in our wardrobe. Fashion presents the options, while personal style makes the decisions. By now, you might be wondering, if personal style starts within, how do I actually figure out what mine is? That's a great question, and it's where so many women get stuck. One of the biggest style mistakes that I see women make isn't buying the wrong clothes. It's starting to build a wardrobe before building a style identity. We spend so much time asking, what should I buy, that we never stop to ask, who am I dressing? At the Elevated Style Co., we call that foundation your style profile. It helps you make sense of fashion instead of being overwhelmed by it. Your style profile is made up of 3 key pieces: your personality, your lifestyle, and your style preferences. Together, they create a clear picture of where you want and need to show up in the world. If there's one thing I hope that you take away from this lesson, it's this. Fashion can inspire you, but it can never define you. The most meaningful wardrobes aren't built by chasing trends. They're built by understanding the person that's wearing the clothes. So here's your style homework for the month. The next time you're out shopping or even just standing in front of your closet, before you ask, do I like this? I want you to stop and instead ask, does this piece reflect who I am? Write down your answer in your style notebook and we'll build upon it in next month's lesson. And if today's video helped you realize that you've been building your wardrobe around fashion instead of building it around your personal style, that's exactly why I created a style identity session. Together, we'll uncover your unique style profile, which is the foundation that makes every future wardrobe decision clearer and more intentional. I'll have the link in the description if you're interested. And next month, we'll be covering the first piece of your style profile, your personality. Because before you can understand your wardrobe, you have to first understand yourself. If you enjoyed today's style lesson, I would love to have you join our stylistic community. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss next month's style lesson. And until next time, stay stylish.